everyone, to another exciting lecture into the occult sciences. This is Grandmaster Dr. Thor Templar, and I am, as usual, going to be your guide. Well, I want to talk about another very important understanding in rituals. And basically, there are three types of ritual manifestations. And again, this isn't very clear in most systems out there or discussed in any fashion of the type of empowerments that you are seeking. But it's very critical to understand this, to understand success rates and how things work in general. And I will tell you. So the first state, of course, is what we always talk about is an empowering state. This means you're building these all-important manifesting fields around you for whatever you lack, or for many different empowerments. It could be financial, and in your love life, and in protection. All of these things are important, and oftentimes overlooked. A lot of people don't do protections, they just do success rituals and other things. So it's always good to do these types of general empowerment rituals. And of course, these are the best types, and these ultimately is what you want to spend your time on. You don't want to wait until you have problems. You don't want to fix things. You don't want to necessarily have to influence people, which are some of the other stages of rituals. You want to build the energy around you so everyone who's attracted to you is the right people, and you don't have to worry about compelling, influencing, or fixing something broken down the line. And this is the best type of occultism, and this is when people tend to have the greatest success in life, is when they empower their life. And we talk about this throughout many different lectures, and it's very important that you understand that you want to empower your life. You don't want to wait to do things to manifest what you need to influence, again, as I've said. When you try and do that, this is when success rates in occultism start to plummet, and it depends upon the individual empowerment or level of power that that particular magician or sorcerer has. So you want to avoid that. You want to make sure that all the energies around you are at a very high level. And you draw in the right people, the right circumstances, and everything works out. And you don't really have to worry about doing specific things to affect specific people or specific situations, because the energies around you are doing that. They're bringing in quality people. Quality people make things happen for you. Quality situations work out right for you. And you're not fighting an uphill battle, as too many people tend to do. And the reason why they tend to get involved in occultism is plain and simple because of the fact that they have problems. And this is a mistake to do, obviously. I mean, you have to do this at times, and of course, everybody needs motivations to do something. But waiting until that happens, and then when you're in the goo, in the proverbial shit of life, trying to fight your way out of it makes things twice as hard and plummets your success rate, particularly as a beginner. It's also very difficult when you hire other professionals to go in and pull you out of such deep mire. So it makes it difficult on everyone when you do this. So it's always best to start these things as soon as possible before you have problems, or if you're just seeing on the horizon of doing things. If you're young and just starting your career in life, this is the time to do it. Empower what you're doing. Empower getting better jobs. Empower being successful in your studies. Empower every step that you do from your life from the beginning. And if you do this, you will pretty much are 100% ensured that things will go well for you. Of course, not everything turns out, and they usually people tend to look at some negativities as negative, when basically they could be very positive. So, you have to also, which is another lecture I'll be beginning, is thinking correctly and understanding how things work, which may not be straight lined. So what you think is best for you may not. So generally things work out. When people do practical magic, They generally have a success rate of about 80%, and we've been able to relatively verify that in their own lives when they take care of things before they become problems. Um, and that is the best way to work. And that's your pretty much ritual type number one, manifesting ritual type number one. Number two generally is influencing. That means that you haven't your empowerment manifesting fields have not brought in the people to you that are making you at the level of success or achieving the goals that you want. So you need to then particularly influence a particular person so that they assist you in life. And generally, these things, people working out of their higher consciousness, it's a benefit for everyone. So the whole idea, if you're a talented person at a particular job or situation, working for a company is a benefit to them. And the fact that you push yourself in over somebody else is a mutual benefit. So there's absolutely nothing to worry about that if someone really is worrying about it, because people use their influences in all areas of life to get what they want. Whether daddy got them a job, mommy got them a job, whether money got them a job, whether their education got them. These are all influencing things that people do to get their selves in a prime position over others, and that's how life is in general. So when you have to influence people, here we go again. We start off at this 80% or so of easy general successes because you've built these positive fields around you. Positive people to attract a mate, positive people for success, positive people fields for money, etc., etc. Strong fields for protection. All these things is what you have to take into consideration to maintain yourself. Similar to eating good, taking supplements, taking certain herbs or things that are good for you, is what you're trying to do is get your body to work better and to stay well, not trying to heal it. When you try and heal things, then of course you run into that same type of success rate. Once you get sick, it's a battle. If you stay well, that's the key to everything in life, and that's the key of magic as well. Keep your manifesting fields well and happy, and they take care of you for the rest of your life. It's pretty much as simple as that. So when you start to have to influence someone because your manifesting fields weren't strong enough, let's say a job situation, then you have to start influencing a particular individual. And while this certainly is very possible and does work often in magical rituals, it's still number two, and it drops your success rate down by another probably 10 or 15%. So that's quite a bit. You're working up at this 80, and you can almost say 90% with a lot of people in terms of if they're building their fields and keeping them up, 80 to 90%. And you're going to knock out of that 15% when you come into the fact is you're trying to influence someone. So, you're getting down to that 70, 75% approximately in that area of manifestation, which is still pretty good. But, here it is. There's still 25% that is a failure. Because of the fact that you have to influence someone else. And it is not easy to influence other people. That's because you're in a stage 2 situation. But it is part and parcel of magic in general. That's what you try and do. But still, that's not the correct way, as I just went over. People talk about this in magic, but it's still doing magic wrong. You shouldn't get to that stage. But of course, there's always going to be times when you have to do that because things go wrong to some extent. But that's going to happen, but you want to happen as little as possible by having these other strong fields, which I've just discussed. And if you're doing these enough and long enough and consistently, these situations where you have to influence people are fairly rare because things happen and they happen the way they should, not where you then have to force it because your manifesting fields weren't strong enough to bring these people in to begin with. So That's very, very important to understand and acknowledge is understanding what you're doing. Now, the third stage, which is where you really plummet in terms of your success rate, is fixing something that's broken. Yes, indeedy, boys and girls. Fixing broken stuff is tough. It creates negative energies and towards you. It really creates what often is called baggage, meaning you get baggage from it. You've created a problem that not only do you have to influence the person, you have to overcome all the negativity of the blockages and everything else. And this is where things plummet. You're talking about a general success rate that can drop down to as low as 20 to 40% possibilities, oftentimes in that 20% range of success, which is still amazing to fix something that's broken. And that means if you've had a problem at your job where people are threatening to fire you because you're not doing your job, or they don't like you at this particular point, you've allowed that to get to the point where you're being threatened or you have been written up or those type of things. One of the most classic areas this happens is in relationships. Now, once a relationship breaks or there's problems in it and the relationship goes bad because you haven't been working on it, you haven't been during that relationship binding that person to you, getting what you want out of it. If you want a lifetime relationship or marriage from it, well, you should have been from very early on empowering that energy to your particular partner to make sure that that happens. Trying to do it after years of a relationship is trying to fix something that's broken, and these things don't work too good. Plain and simple. And that also is the classic thing that so many people, and you see this in all the publications or people offering ritual services, is returned lost loves. And this rarely works for most people. Once someone has left you, they have left you, and it's very difficult to pull them back because of the baggage, because they get involved with other people, they establish a relationship. So it's a long, drawn-out fight, and usually you have to break them up with the relationship that they're in. You have to draw them back to you. You have to overcome it. These are very, very tough, very high levels of empowerment that have to be happening. Those people that claim to do all this stuff in all these little papers out there never do. It's a big failure because it's so damn tough. But there's a lot of people who are desperate who will pay for that, and that's why you see it. But we've tested these people with a few people that have cases like that, and no one's ever been able to be successful. So that's important to understand as well. It's always another this, another that, another 50, another 100 to assist you because you are so desperate for this particular person for one reason or another. And it's both sexes that have this. This is not a female thing, and it's not a male thing. People get hung up on someone for whatever reason, or regret breaking up relationships, and then, of course, want to put them back together again. So you want to fix something that's broken. And I've always found that once you get into these situations, that even in life, when something breaks, you can fix some things, but when you try and glue stuff back together, it never seems like the glues ever hold. And the whole process really never works too well. So, life is like that. Magic is a glue, and it works a little sometimes, and maybe it even sticks together for a period of time, and then snap-a-roo, it goes again. So, you really have to deal with the situation that caused the breakup to begin with if you're lucky enough to get back together again. And old problems and old ways generally don't change. People don't change. And when people reunite again, they're going to run into the same problems. They're going to have all that old baggage to throw up in the other person's face saying, you did this, you did that. And these realities are very difficult to overcome, even if you can get back to that stage. But those difficulties is what the people you're trying to influence and draw back to you are also thinking in their consciousness, which is so hard to manifest these kind of relationships repairs. So when something is broken, it's not only relationships, that can be anything. Once something broken at work, once something's broken in any type of situation that you are trying to change, broken can be the fact of getting a curse on you, crossing yourself up to a large degree. All of these things create huge amounts of negativity, and you could have avoided this if you did protection, especially if you're involved with other occult people, because most likely if you have problems, they will curse you. And there's so many nasty people out there in general. But if you did uncrossings, the negativities of life which cross you up and cause this kind of spiritual cancer with you, can all be eliminated easily and quickly, and by just doing a few simple little rituals and practices. And we are now offering kits in this area so you can actually take care of this yourself and maintain it without even having to learn an entire system, which tends to be overwhelming for a lot of people. It's just the matter of actually taking care of yourself so you don't get into problems. And that's the key to it. So, it all falls back to, the type of rituals you want to be doing is stage one, which is maintaining strong fields, protecting your relationships, if you're doing well, don't think that's going to happen forever. Protect those areas. Keep your success going. Protect your relationship. Bind your mate. All these things are important. Don't put your head in the sand thinking that everything is going to be perfect. And this happens to everyone, including myself. Things start to go good and your rituals tend to stop. Well, I don't need more prosperity. I don't need protection. Everything's going well. This is a big error and one of the biggest errors that you can make. And there you also have to understand and target problem people. If there's problem people in your life, get rid of them. If there's problem people who are causing you problems, you need to do retribution on them immediately. Don't wait until it's too late. They are enemies. Treat them as such. So it's very important that you understand that way of functioning. So working from stage two and trying to influencing people, again, is dropping your success rate and bringing you down into that 25%. It could easily be down to 30% in that area as well. Reduction. You could say it's still a 70% probability that you can influence someone, but you're losing a lot there. And when you start trying to fix things that are broken, the whole thing goes topsy-turvy, and there you are. You're down to 20% success rate. That means 80% of it's against you. But, it's pretty amazing that 20% of the people can pull these things out in one way or another anyway. But, it's very important that you don't get into these situations and then try and pull them out. And but as usual, these things do happen in people's lives, and it is very common that people try and do these things. And that's why there is such a market for these things. Once someone is gone, you have to have them. When you were with them, you probably treated them like garbage and didn't take care of the relationship, or which is why people break apart. I mean, there is no one person in a relationship that takes the total blame. It's always both people involved have screwed up, and because they're not meeting each other's needs, for whatever those may be, and this causes all sorts of problems. So when they go bad, and trying to save them is usually a very difficult magical operation for anybody to pull off. Including professionals, obviously. It's very difficult. These are the worst types of cases to take on because they are so difficult and there's so much negativity to the people. So it's very hard to go in there and reunite people when they have a history of problems, because you're not together, and you're not together with that person because they don't want to be with you, and you've broken it off. Now to say, well, let's forget all that stuff and go and start from the beginning, It's very, very difficult. And, people fall in and out of love. That's reality. People think love is everlasting. Love is kind of not lasting. And rightfully so. You shouldn't be loving or be loving to a person who is negative towards you or causing you problems or doesn't deserve your love. So, there are times that you find this out and times that you should part. And then the nostalgic view of things are so much better with this person or so forth, I find kind of silly. And when you do, and if you do reunite, those problems will not have disappeared, and you need to change them. Of course, having that opportunity to do things over, having a do-over, certainly is nice in relationships for everybody. Well, let's have a do-over. I've changed, you've changed. Well, there is something to that, so it's certainly worth a try in certain situations. But, there's numerous formulas if someone is a wanderer, if there's a problem, that you can actually use to influence people, to tie them in, to bind them to you so your relationships go better. Just and plain and simple as that. So, it is not a something though that you want to get into. The whole idea is not to get yourself in a influencing situation or a fixing situation. If you do proper love drawing to begin with, you're going to draw in a good mate that you don't have problems with. If you allow that up to the fates or up to your own ego or your own lust levels and all these things, and you allow this just to happen on its own, well, we've seen what that happens with the huge divorce rate that plagues the entire planet. People don't get along, and leaving things up to the quote fates is an evil, stupid mistake. Better left to the ignorant populace of non-occultists who get what they deserve because they don't bother to take care of and empower their lives, thinking that something's going to happen that takes care of them. Well, I don't know anything in life that happens because you wish it happening. You have to empower it. You want a career, you want to succeed at something, you want to just be good at golf. It don't happen from sitting on your couch watching golf on TV. You got to go out and do it. And you got to practice it and so forth. That's how life is on everything. It's the same thing about everything else in life. You need to empower it. And particularly when it comes in relationship because of the such confused factors of relationships and all the things that go on with the fact that people just don't get along. The sexes don't get along, even individuals. People talk about that, but certainly the world isn't about people getting along, and it really has nothing to do with men and women. The world is killing each other because of their belief systems, whatever that may be. And it really has nothing to do particularly with relationships. It has to do with whatever their belief systems are. Basically, they want to take something from somebody else. And when you allow hoodlums, like has been done in this world from the beginning of time, to prosper and grow, they come back and they cause damage. And that's just the reality of what's going on, boys and girls. And that doesn't change in your life. If you allow negativity to come into your life and you don't draw in positivity, what do you think's going to manifest? The whole idea is when you have a strong, positive manifesting field, not only does it draw in good people, is that it stops negative people from coming in, and you recognize it quick and soon, or they don't bother to interact with you at all. And of course, that's really the core understanding of magic that few people have ever had explained to them. So as usual, there is no reality until the occult scientist creates it. Question everything, believe nothing, and let the guild be your guide.